Hello League Faithful, and welcome back to yet another installment of the WTTA Training Academy. I'm your instructor, Leo Rito Sukiyo, and class is now in session. I sincerely hope you've kept up with your studies, as today's lesson on map awareness and roaming rolls right off of the back of vision and vision control. Let's begin. Considering we've recently reviewed how to appropriately secure vision while denying your enemy the same, it's crucial that we discuss map awareness. Map awareness is your ability to read both the screen and the minimap in order to register the information established by vision or a lack thereof. It's an essential skill that helps in identifying enemy locations and movements, allowing you to discern the best course of action and response. In other words, if you see a neighboring enemy laner vanish and you're pushing your lane out, you could be at risk of a gank. Likewise, if you can see the entire enemy team rotating towards Baron later on in the game, it's a safe presumption that they are doing it or at least baiting an ambush or a fight. Simultaneously, you can note ally movements and locations in order to best synergize with the team's interests. So if you witness your lane opponent ransack your jungler, you can collapse and try to rescue him or reverse the fight. Likewise, if your team is funneling into Baron Pit, it might not be the best time to stop for a blue or red buff, as your presence would help burn the Baron down faster and deter your enemies if they try to contest. Ultimately, having good map awareness makes the difference between your team getting systematically picked off one by one or collapsing swiftly to stomp out the opposition. It also allows your team to judge a scenario and whether or not the right move is to aggress or defend. The responses will differ due to many variables that range from team compositions such as the CC and what's in their kits, as well as the amount of wave clear they have. Also, positioning and location of enemies and allies alike, advantages and disadvantages gained by each team. But what happens in those moments of duress when you can't really type out in-game what your plan is to your team? This is where pings come in. Pings are a system of notifications each player can execute on the minimap and on the map generally, at targeted locations. Pings can notify your team of a variety of things, such as your intended destination, if you require assistance, alerting them of danger, signifying missing opponents. They can also express a need to defend a tower or aggress against an enemy tower, to fall back or target both a neutral objective such as Dragon, as well as an enemy champion. You can access pings by holding down V and clicking. This allows you to drag and release over whichever ping is relevant to the circumstances. Before we proceed, it's important to note, please do not spam ping your teammates. Amongst friends, it could be humorous. However, strangers do tend to get worked up pretty quickly, and they could behave adversely even if you're genuinely concerned about them. Pings being an excellent way to call attention to the map, there is also another in-game function that contributes to map awareness, and that is your on-screen camera. As you may already know, League of Legends allows you to either lock or unlock your camera, which changes from being focused on your position to being freely movable. Lock screen is a beneficial thing whenever you need to keep tabs on your current location during team fights and while traveling through risky territory. Short-range champions also bear very little consequence to a lock screen. However, on-lock screen greatly benefits long-range, skill-shot champions like Xerath or Lux who need to adequately aim things like their ultimates. Also, on-lock screen allows you to shift the camera to any location using your mouse, which allows you to observe enemy and ally movements alike, even your immediate surroundings. If you intend to use on-lock screen, you can recenter the camera onto your current position by tapping on the spacebar. Alternatively, you can toggle camera lock on and off with the Y key. Alright guys, I know what you're thinking, we got it Rito, but these tools don't mean much if we don't already have great map awareness. That being said, let's dive into the 3 core methods to improve map awareness. Number 1. Get in the habit of checking your minimap every 5 seconds at the very least. You can check it slightly more often, but by doing so you get a glimpse of ally and enemy locations relative to you. Likewise, you might be able to notice an enemy MIA before somebody actually notifies you of it. Number 2. Utilize your pings to share information and observations. By conveying things like MIAs, you can caution your allies to a potential roam threat that may be approaching. You can also highlight risky portions of the map with a high probability of danger by utilizing the danger ping. Number 3. Build the habit of operating your camera unlocked. This really enables you to analyze your immediate surroundings much better, which nets you a better reaction time. You can also easily recenter with the spacebar for convenience, and it's very easy to manipulate that way. Now that we've completed the basics of map awareness, let's introduce the concept of roaming. Roaming is the action of leaving the lane you're a part of to gain an advantage or apply pressure elsewhere. This can be a support escorting their jungler into enemy territory to establish some vision. This can help monitor the pathing of the enemy jungler and caution lanes about the direction they're headed. It can also be a mid laner traveling to top or bot lane to apply pressure or to secure a kill. A support and top laner can also roam to mid lane. This can help alleviate pressure for any of those lanes that might be having too much in there. A coordinated invade by a jungler and the lanes adjacent to the target quadrant. So top and mid lane could escort into enemy upper jungle. Mid and bot lane could escort into the enemy bot side jungle. Lastly, a coordinated multi-man gank or dive. In other words, mid lane could follow up on the jungler's movements towards bot or top. This enables much more power when you're diving the enemy laner. When I was a more inexperienced League of Legends player, I would often never roam from mid lane under the basis that my champions were not mobile enough to do so. However, with time, I learned all of the reasons why and the conditions when to roam, and what benefits you can gain from it. That being said, let's get right into the reasons why you should roam. Number 1. A simple roam to a neighboring lanemate who is getting shoved in could help alleviate the pressure that the opponent is placing upon them. This gives them room to breathe and reassess the situation, possibly even CS a little freely for a few moments. Number 2. If your lane seems to be at a stalemate or a disadvantage, you could put a neighboring lane ahead and get yourself a small lead by roaming and ganking successfully. Sometimes successful roams can transition into an objective as well, like Rift Herald, Dragon, or Towers. Number 3. If you're ahead, you can share the wealth by utilizing your power spike to influence the outcome of another laning phase. So now we understand why we should roam and what advantages we could potentially gain. However, a successful roam does depend on certain circumstances, so let's review the optimal times to roam. Number 1. Whenever your lane experiences low pressure and is pushed out. Ideally, you would want to roam when your lane opponent has recalled and you shove the minions onto their tower. So not only are you denying them a wave of CS this way, but it also ensures that you have the optimal amount of time to roam without your tower getting pressured. Number 2, any time that you're playing a champion with high to decent mobility and or confident amounts of CC. I say confident amounts of CC because depending on the level of burst damage available, some enemies could be killed in the duration of one Lux Binding, while others may need to be locked down for a longer period of time. Likewise, high mobility just ensures that you can roam with time efficiency in mind, and potentially pursue a fleeing target for a brief period of time. Number 3, if you have trouble creating an advantage for yourself in lane, or if you have a substantial advantage, you can go to another lane, and by ganking them, you get yourself an advantage if you can't find one in your lane, or if you already have one, then you contribute to spreading that wealth. This obviously nets an advantage across the entire team, which is only beneficial. It's important to note where you roam and why will vary from game to game. Team compositions as well as enemy positioning and their kits will often dictate what you are able to do. The same fights that you could easily win 1v1 top lane can be reversed by an enemy Twisted Fate ultimate. Likewise, a jungler would have to be doubly cautious if they were against an Evelynn or a Shaco due to potential invisibility steals and skirmishes. Always analyze the composition of your opponents and how they can interact. Naturally, if your team has a large zone of threat or pressure, the same things that you would be cautious about become the tools that you would work around. In conclusion, we've covered one of the most fundamental necessities in League of Legends and one powerful option that it enables you to do. Map awareness will up your game by reading everything visible and what's hidden in the shadows, while pings will help convey this information to your teammates. We've covered the advantages roaming can gain you and the optimal times to do so. Be sure to apply these lessons, and I can guarantee as time passes, your play will improve exponentially. That's all for this week's Wood Tier Training Academy. I am Leo Rito Sukiyo, signing out.